Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of our new Dungeons & Dragons podcast, Ire Dice. This podcast will be picking up from the most recent stopping place of our current Dungeons & Dragons campaign in my homebrew world called Fel Agnar. I am joined by a rather handsome party of 5 adventurers. If you'd like to introduce yourselves, starting with Jake, just go around the room and...
Hi everyone, my name is Jake Beals, and once again, I am the voice behind Sigil Nui, a human life cleric native to, you guessed it, the Jade Coast.
Hello, my name is Will Madison, and I am the voice behind Eridor Springmire, a monk with a whole lot of secrets.
Hello, my name is Micah Pinkley. I am the voice behind one Mordecai Guerin. He's got probably just as many secrets as Eridor.
Well, hey, how's it going? I'm Carter Sprouse. I'm the voice behind Alakir Hithvaru, an Aasimar Paladin. I'm running a subclass called the Oath of the Blood Ravager, which was written by our DM.
I am Robbie Gady. I'm the voice behind Ati Dolas. She is a tiefling shadow sorcerer with a unexplored background.
Yeah, so actually 3 of our players will be running subclasses that I wrote. Will and Eridor will be running a Arcane Subjugator, which is a mage-slaying, narrative-heavy spellcaster subclass for Monk.
You know it.
Micah will be playing as Mordecai, a subclass for Rogue called Convict, which specializes in the creation of shivs and more brutal close-quarters combat.
Mm-hmm.
And as Carter mentioned, he will also be playing a subclass of Paladin called Oath of the Blood Ravager.
Hell yeah, baby.
Hell yeah. So we are actually going to start off tonight's session with a little bit of a recap from our approximate 10-ish prior sessions. Yeah, is everybody ready?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Enjoy.
Let's do it. A snow-covered landscape twists and bends, and hills and mountains shape its form. Dozens of dark pines creep from the base of a frozen river that runs the length of this massive valley. Dark brown and gray rocks, outcroppings, burst through the surface of the ground. Almost points to the sparse, 100-tall onyx pillars that strengths a few hundred feet into the sky, grasping for the gods themselves. Never-ending flame pulsates at the top of each of these ancient structures. Along one side of the massive valley, the great mountain cascades down, forming the rigid spine of some titanic beast. Pressed to the side of the surface of these mountain ranges sits a solitary fortress, forgotten with its age. Its towers and architecture are covered in touch snow and winter tundra. Cutting chills pull through the air, and the screaming wind tears through its empty halls, awaiting any living reply. It waits. It waits even now. A flash of spinning motion carrying us far from the strongholds of antiquity. A lush valley thick with mist. Mounds of dirt grass lie still, undisturbed for centuries. Like 10,000 blades of grass, ancient swords stand tall, their metal buried into the mounds. The markers of a long dead land and a long silent battlefield.
A reorientation of time and place and water, cool to the touch and crisp to the taste, surrounds an island. Snow blankets the distant horizon, and the winter trees bear the sign of such a season. The dark pines and stones of the island almost reflect scale-like patterns in their nature. Long breaths as the chilling wind search the island's confines, and slowly exhales as the stillness of the island brings rest. A verbal sigh, a great baritone sound, the shifting of long, frigid muscles, secluded and alone, but the skittering of tiny footfalls, the whispers of small voices. Finally, guests, it seems. A second passes, the sound of inhaled air, taut and then released. A flash of blinding white and cyan energy. Stillness once more. The snow begins to fall now, gently, quietly. The island sleeps once more.
Our story finds itself on the westernmost borders of Fel Agnar, to the edges of the emerald depths of the great western sea. 13 cities stand strong here, 12 great houses among them. This is the Jade Coast, founded by 12 familial ancient nomadic tribes millennium ago. The high houses of the Jade Coast each rule over a portion of the region, and each has sway within the overarching political matters that stem from Valio, the capital city, where no house rules. Each house has equal say in this city, tucked in against the coastline. Due to greed, honor, or any similar such virtue, much infighting has occurred between the various houses over the course of centuries. Certain houses have fallen into basic alliances, a measure of assurance against the actions of their rivals, and to keep the entire confederacy from falling into civil war.
House Varu, known for its righteous devotion to Ulthril, the Lord of Light and Keeper of the Eternal Forge, have always remained a pivotal member of the Jade Coast political structure. Although tragedy has recently fallen upon its halls, and rumors swell about the death of both Lady Hithvaru and the untimely deaths of both her sons. Many wonder what will become of Lord Vosmir Hithvaru and the rest of his paladin kin. House Ontori, centralized among the cities of the Jade Coast, and this position of importance has led to great wealth and even greater greed. They have many allies. Most notably, rumors swell that even the legendary Thieves Guild, the Rose Coffin, and its elusive leaders seem in their back pocket. And House Vaklu, noted for their bravery and heroism in many past conflicts, has fallen under dark times, with allies growing short and illness claiming the life of the lord of its house. Now its banner and title fall to its eldest, the brave Varen Vaklu, and his younger brother, the clever Tobin Vaklu.
Rumors of war stretch across the land, cities and villages to the south of the Jade Coast. Houses, waves, and rumors of monsters from across the southern seas, and tales of forces that ravage the coast. But those stories are still lie far from the borders of the Jade Coast. Instead, more rumors from within the coast itself. House Vaklu gathers forces for an expedition under lock and key. Mercenaries hired quickly. But for what purpose? Few know. In the northern lands of the Jade Coast, on the edge of the territories of House Kunpa and Kedatu, a large expedition makes camp. Soldiers and scholars, mercenaries and mages are gathered, and this night, 6 separate threads of destiny begin to weave together.
I followed my fellow blood ravagers to his encampment. We were hired by an expedition by House Vaklu, for God knows what. My brothers and sister and I set up a small campfire in the center of camp. Dozens of tents and carts were around us. This would turn out to be no small voyage, it seemed.
I sat around a fire with 4 others, who I would soon discover to be Eridor, Mordecai, Hestel, and Artie. I was itching for adventure. I wanted to see the world and bring back wealth for my family. I would best Kamal, that much was certain. I hoped that whatever work he had gotten himself into, he was safe, at least.
Lord Tobin Vaklu came to meet us then and addressed the entire encampment. He said that this expedition was traveling north of the Jade Coast into the ancient and hallowed grounds of the Old War, the war between the gods and Ulsagoth, the All-Mind. A place now called Helgard's Coffin. He split the troops into scouting parties to explore the territories and placed me and those few around me under the command of Lieutenant Hestel Marland. I didn't like any of this superstition business. All I cared about was getting the job done and getting paid.
I wanted answers for myself and about myself. If traveling some godforsaken land was the way to do it, then so be it. We were joined by a large Asmir who carried a large glaive and didn't talk much. We spoke briefly, each learning a little more about each other's abilities. Then, the next morning at dawn, we left the encampment.
We split off from the other squads and traveled to the northeast, heading to the mountainous regions that our preliminary reports identified. The first 2 days went by quickly, as our group moved unseen through the northern border of the Jade Coast and entered Helgard's Coffin. As the sun descended on the night of the second day, several miles into the territory, we found 7 twisted metal pikes, and 7 burned and charred figures atop them, crucified. They were large, Goliath-like figures, each bearing a war-painted symbol, a blue lightning bolt, severing a mountain top in 2 halves.
We made a camp shortly thereafter, and lit a small fire. Eridor taking the first watch. After a few hours had passed, he noticed shifting in the undergrowth around the camp. And suddenly a twisting vine wrapped around his foot and threw him into the ground. Emerging from the forestry, a living mass of vine and gnarled vegetation. A shambling mound. The sounds of commotion woke the rest of us, and together we rushed upon the creature and did battle. We slew the beast. Eridor pulled back out of its crushing maw. After the adrenaline faded, I took the second watch, and we rested.
We awoke, made a miga stew for breakfast, and broke camp. We traveled northward, and the landscape around us turned from rolling plains and sparse woods to a twisted land called Kroner's Bog. Slowly walking amongst the ruined horizon were humanoid creatures, their bodies shaped and engorged in vine and sunken flesh. Hazel and green scales were broken and oozing from their skin. They felt our presences, and we came to a struggle of sword and spell, even as another shambling mound joined their efforts.
Upon our victory, we more closely examined our surroundings and learned several things. Firstly, upon assailants seemed to be originally lizard folk in nature, but warped and undone by the corrupted bog. Secondly, there were other bodies within the swamp water, more Goliath corpses, upon one of which we found a crescent sword, a hapesh, which Druidic script had used upon its curved mithril blade. We called it the Blade of the Crescent Moon, and identified its prologue design and magical enchantment. As soon as I studied the blade, I received a vision of the one I'm searching for, called Arvin, Eyes of the Moon.
I told the others not to use this item, as we did not know if it was dangerous or not. But Eridor would not listen, and kept the blade for himself. Reluctantly, we continued on in the swamp, and came across more of what we called bog spawn. Though the use of my magic, I was able to communicate with one of them, and the others faltered. The one who spoke was gravely injured, but he spoke of a witch, a trickster who has destroyed the swamp, and that belonged to the lizardkin. The spawn called out into the wind, saying that the last shaman of the bog would find them and guide them to the witch. The poor soul succumbed to his wounds, and life left him.
We walked for several hours that day, feeling almost guided by the bog, and we found a nook amongst a group of fallen trees and made camp. We awoke to the smell of fresh meat and saw that a solitary lizard folk covered in old rags stood a few yards away. He identified himself as the last shaman of the bog and told us of the witch who had tricked and stolen all of his kin. She lured them with sorcery into the bog and gave them over to a group of red-skinned kobolds to the west. These kobolds were using these poor lizard folk for some vile ritual. No matter. We traveled to the den of this witch, entered her lair, and slew her, gathering several magical items from her dwelling. We discovered a transmutation circle that seemed to once house dark magic. With the witch dead, it appeared to be inactive. On our way back from the den, however, we encountered a war party chasing down one of the squads of Vaklu expedition. The assailants were a mixture of kobolds and something unknown, unnatural, a vile synthesis of lizard and dragon. By the time we got there, only one of the squad was still living, their archaeologist.
We descended upon the war party and managed to save the archaeologist, a man named Geneth. We found the body of the lieutenant of the 6th squad and learned of the death of the 5th squad from Geneth. After explaining the transmutation circle that we discovered in her lair, Geneth believed that our squad may have found the source of the vile contortion of lizard and dragon. As one of the dragonoid creatures slipped from life and his curse rebounded, causing his skin to burn and char, we cast healing magic and restored him. Even as Ati used her sorceress abilities to attempt to salvage the original lizard's soul. Once the individual came back to consciousness, he identified himself as Gurn Shallow, one of the original residents of the bog. He and Geneth both told a vast series of caverns and tunnels where kobolds merged the bodies of lizard folk with the souls of their strongest warriors, creating a new breed called Dragonborn. Gurn said that the great red dragon, Voldor, lies at the base of those tunnels, a very large dragon who has been trapped beneath the surface for centuries.
With this threat in mind, we traveled back to camp and reconnected with Lord Tobin Vaklu and met High Lord Varen Vaklu. The party gave their information about Helgard's coffin and accepted a new mission from Lord Vaklu to accompany him back to Valio, the captain of the capital of the Jade Coast, and to be his protection during the annual Jade Tribunal, the annual political conference of the Lords of the 12 High Houses. We teleported to the embassy of House Vaklu in Valio and the capital city of the Jade Coast. We each went our separate ways that afternoon, and were planning on reconvening later that night.
That night, as the sun descended across the horizon, Geneth magically contacted each of us, recalling us back to the Vaklu embassy. We gathered and we were informed once again of a secret mission to break the residence of another High Lord, the manor of Lord Byron and Lady Morgana Hontari, to find documents proving that House Hontari was conspiring against the other high houses and raising power to take control of the Jade Coast for themselves and those who swore loyalty to them. We were joined by 2 agents of a group called the Faceless, Vyre and Nurgor, who despised corruption and wished to prove the treachery of House Hontari.
But as we teleported, the waves rose and began to pour into the streets of the city. We emerged upon the beach outside the coastal manor and fought our way through a horde of Swahagan warriors and made our way inside to search the house. But Nurgo was dragged back into the swarming attackers and was torn to pieces. We discovered a series of catacombs and a mysterious green-scaled creature named Tyrak, who seemed to be the guardian of Lady Morgana's most important artifacts. I managed to persuade him to give us the conspiratorial documents in exchange for the information about the witch's transmutation ritual and the dragonoid creatures created by the Red Dragon.
With the parchment in our possession, Geneth teleported us back to the Vaklu embassy, and with a flash off of purple arcane light, our forms scattered into swirling air. When our feet touched solid ground, we were met with the booming voice of our assailant echoing throughout the city.
Denizens of the Jade Coast, you have stolen from us that which is most precious. The drowned chorus will not take these threats lately. Return to us the orb within 48 of your surface hours, or we will drag your city into the depths of the deepest oceans and strip it from your long dead corpses.
I have to go.
No,
Now!
Sigil, we need to stay. We need to figure out what's happening. No, we if we stay here, we can be safe together.
Not everyone is safe, Ati. I need to leave.
But if we talk now, we can figure out how to make other people safe, right?
Genneth just drops down into a nearby chair, grabbing it behind him. You see just sweat pouring down his face, realizing that he was once again saving that last spell.
Ati, let the man
out
go.
there and is now fully tapped.
Yes.
Yes.
Drop everything I have.
Then we wait. We wait for Hestel and for Lord Vaklu to return.
But what is he talking about? It's some orb, sphere, ball? What?
Gods be damned, I have no clue. But what I do know is we have what we went into that place for. We can prove that House Hontori is working against the others, specifically Vaklu. We won't die if we stay here. The force is there. Look out the window. And he gestures to where you guys can see from the tower of the Vaklu embassy that you are inside. You can see the forces, the waves receding slightly. Some of the perimeter docks are still overtaken by the water levels. But all in all, the water level has subsided, and the forces are retreating. You see within the streets, even from your current line of sight, several hundred feet away, you can see the outlines of not only Sahuagin bodies, but the streets are filled with low-level water, perhaps blood that soaks through the dozens and dozens and dozens of corpses that line the docks, or what used to be the docks.
I try the door to see if it opens.
It's unlocked.
I have to go. I will be back as soon as possible.
Well,
Without a second thought, I go.
is there some way that we can talk? Gods be damned. Gods be damned.
Little one, if he chooses to die, it is his own choice. But now we must act with tact and with great discernment.
Agreed. What is this orb? Does anyone know?
Well, I sure hope it's not the sphere you own.
I highly doubt it. That comes from not here.
Well,
I don't think that it would be.
The witch could
I
have
don't- that's the
stolen it
orb.
from them. We can't just knock it out because it's not from around here.
I can go ask. Just if you give me the orb, I'll walk out there and ask.
I don't have the orb. I point over at Genneth and I'm like, he still has the orb.
Look, we're probably all dead anyway. Especially how we're acting now.
Oh, well, then start talking. You've never wanted to talk and make a plan before.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty dire now. In Hestel's absence, we have a lack of leadership, and I vote that Alakir take it. We need someone with experience, and you seem to have all of that, if what you said back there was true.
I appreciate the vote of confidence.
Aren't we still technically on that last mission, so isn't Genneth still in command? Is that not how this works?
No, I'm not in charge. I'm just waiting for Lord Vaklu. It was my job to get you guys in there. I mean, I was really the extraction. I wasn't really in charge, and he just kind of leans back further into the chair, and you watch as he just kind of rubs his temple.
Genneth, you okay?
Alakir, does he need you to do that thing where you put your hand on someone's shoulder?
He's spent. I cannot restore what he's lacking. Ginneth. These are dire times.
I think I've noticed.
And we have some rather irked beings out beyond the coast. How important is proving the disloyalty of House Antari? If there will be no more houses in 2 days.
We can at least get the rest of the high houses to unify against them.
There's a much greater threat that must be unified against.
I mean, we were all down there. We heard what that dragon said. Tyrek or whatever in the name of the gods he said.
Hey, he was nice.
You can't trust dragons.
Well, I don't expect whoever has this orb to give it up.
But what I'm saying is... Vyre steps up and says, I think what he's trying to say is that it seemed like Lady Morgana had many things she wished to hide. Magical artifacts, perhaps. We saw that Iron Maiden in there. Who knows? I mean, she sounds kinda crazy, so I don't know.
Oh, do we have to go back? We just left.
Not us. We must report to Hestel. We can do both.
As Eridor's trying to think about the different pieces, he kind of puts his head down for a second, and he says, Perloth, as you've guided me this last time, please help guide us to this orb, or whatever we must do to help this threat. And
Sure, roll a percentile dice.
for those of you who don't know, I actually have a 100-sided dice that we roll when we roll percentile, so that's what this thing is. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's a 99.
Oh my gosh. And we're off to a great start, ladies and gentlemen.
There's been a concurrent theme in this campaign of the hand of God miraculously saving the players from current circumstances. And let me tell you, that stops now. Eridor, as you say this silent prayer, only audible maybe a few inches from your lips, you feel this warm presence engulf you. You feel reassured. And you feel the presence of Peloth, the Wanderer, the god of life. And in your mind, thinking about the situations that have occurred, you feel this nudge that it does seem like Lady Morgana would be the type of person to hide artifacts of great magical power. And this does also align with what you learned from the dragon Tyrek in the last session, that she has been using his knowledge and his avarice to gain standing and power.
Hey guys, I really do think we should go back.
Go
Do we have a way back?
Go back.
Well,
Do we have a way back?
no. Ginneth, listen to me. You.
You're addressing Vyre when you say this?
I'm assuming the Faceless has the best interest of the city in mind.
Most definitely. You know you can trust him, Son of Flame. I can't transport you back if that's what you're asking.
Is there somebody else here who can, though? You surely can't be the only one in the city.
I'm sure, of course, there's more magical users in the city. But right now, the most powerful and important people in the Jade Coast are at that gala with Hestel and Lord Vaklu. I'm sure that it has ended now since the attack on the city. But we have to wait here for direction.
Then we leave.
I think we're attacking this at the wrong. I think we see this as a dichotomy. We have two problems here. We have these houses that are fighting against each other. And we have this obvious threat. I think they kind of have to do one with each other.
There will be no houses if the threat takes us out. Very simply. And I believe that we are short a member of our squad. Valio, if you can, report to the Faceless and send a squad of scouts to find Sigil. I don't need him now. I need his whereabouts.
Make a persuasion check.
Also, for those of you who don't know, our wonderful DM got us these new awesome dice, and that was the first roll that has been done with those new and awesome dice. So thank you, Chris.
Hashtag thank you, Chris.
And it was a 19.
Ooh. Valio nods and strokes the edges of his goatee and says, "As you wish, Son of Flame. I will report to the Faceless, and we will watch the whereabouts of your cleric friend." He turns and leaves the room.
Thank you. Now, Ginneth, we travel with you, but once we receive word from the Faceless, our plans may change.
Also, could we have back that sphere we lent you?
He takes it out of the interior of his trench coat. Are you gonna try to swipe it out of his hands before he can decide?
Yes, it's ours.
Okay, make a dex check.
Should I do a sleight of hand? I don't have proficiency in it. So
Make a dex check, and he's gonna make a dex save to see if he can avoid your grasp.
I help by, I guess I try to distract him at the same time because I know I was going to try to grab it.
Are you trying to get it
So I'm
before?
trying to distract Ginneth. So Eridor's going to go like.
Oh, okay. Sure. So, roll with advantage. then.
Eridor's is gonna kind
19 with
of act like
advantage.
he's gonna.
Oh yeah. So he just kind of takes it out, and before he kind of really looks up, he doesn't really move much. He just kind of opens his mouth to speak, but before he gets any words out, you just kind of snatch it up.
Thank you very much. And
Sure.
I just kind of open the new kind of cloak I have from the secret mission and slide it into a pocket.
No. You said that Auntie dropped all the papers and stuff that we got?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk over and scoop them all up in my arms and walk over to Ginneth and just sort of shove them at him and say, here you go. You deal with this now.
He takes it into his hands and...
Personally, I'm with Ginneth. We should wait a little while because I'm really, really hurt.
Well, if we wait here, we could just die instead. So I think moving is a smart idea.
I am wielding half the weapons that I generally do. And if we plan to fight and not die, I would much rather be well rested and well equipped.
Well, how long are we gonna waste? That creature out there said we have 48 hours.
I mean, if you look at that window, you can see that at least they aren't continuing to attack us now.
That doesn't mean they're not gonna attack us in 5 minutes. I can help too.
Look, I can go and scout a little bit. I'm doing just fine.
Auntie, maybe if you could go to the library and look at stuff. You like reading books and things.
Yes, I am a researcher.
And you seem to care about magic artifacts a great deal.
Yes, Ginneth, you should probably put those letters in a safe place, though.
He kind of tucks them like a little bit deeper into the trench coat pocket and kind of shrugs like, I guess that's the best I got for now.
Okay. We can look. I was just at the library, so I hopefully remember where it is. Yeah, we can go.
I
should we
believe
break?
it's in the Topaz ward, if I remember correctly.
Sure. Sure.
And I'm gonna take a long bath and a nap for 8 hours.
Eridor, I believe it's in our best interest, regardless of how eager you may be, to wait for word from the Faceless. If we do not find Sigil, I can keep us alive, but not as well as a cleric can.
I can begin to track him down if you want. I have some experience with that.
Are you still able to scry?
Not without the sphere.
We already used it today.
That's true. Yeah, we can't use that until the next morning.
But, how far is dawn? Is it still middle of the night or okay?
Yeah. You guys departed for the coastal manor of House Hantari about an hour ago, and that was sundown. So it's
we got a long wait.
It's like 8:30 at night.
Well, at least I can begin to track him down.
One would say the night is young. One could say that.
I guess Gwyneth and I will go to the library and we'll try to figure out what this creature is talking about. We'll return here in an hour? 2?
We rise at dawn.
I'll rise probably at 4. Something like that, I don't know. Early.
Well, I don't have a way to contact you all remotely.
Do we not have rooms and cupboards and wardrobes in this house of which we've stored our gear?
Yes.
All right. Well, I suggest we take the time. Artie, you and Gwyneth do your research. We now have a cooperative.
No, he's saying we.
No, what I'm saying is if Hestel or Lord Vakalu return while we're scouting and researching and taking a bath, I won't have a way to contact everyone.
Look at me, Artie. I'm barely going to live any longer if I go out in the street right now.
So it's never stopped you before. Okay, Gwyneth, let's go to the library. We'll return in an hour, and if Hestel is not here, then we'll wait. Does that sound good?
We will wait for the captain. Deliver the letters first.
Are you asking for the letters then?
No, I'm asking you to deliver the letters.
Well, we're gonna be at the library. That is the plan. If we're at the library.
Well then,
We will return in an hour's
Well,
time
then-
if we hear no word.
Well, aren't you
hand me the letters
scouting?
and I will deliver them myself.
Actually, no. He shouldn't scout, right?
We're waiting the
No,
return
no.
of the captain.
This is exactly why we need leadership in his absence. He's a captain now. Make Alakir a lieutenant.
I don't think any of us have that power.
Honorary, then. I just need
Do we?
someone in charge, and I know you're not gonna listen to me.
Well, I mean, you're acting squad leader, I guess, then. Would either of you like the letters, or shall I keep them with me? Actually, now that I think about it, if we're journeying into the city, there's more chances that they could be compromised than kept here in the embassy.
See, that's what I was thinking when I said keep it safe.
Give them here. I promise not to drop them in the bath water or anything.
Make a persuasion check with disadvantage, because he is scared and beat up and very afraid, and you just talked about...
I suggest
You just joked
Alakir
with
has
him.
it.
Yeah. Persuasion, you say?
That's what I said, yeah.
That's a nice and tasty 7.
Can I like grab the hand and point it towards Alakir?
Yeah, he kind of maintains eye contact with you, Mordecai, as he slowly retrieves the letters and wordlessly hands them to Alakir.
Good decision. It's better than Mordecai at the moment.
Well, Artie, Gwyneth,
We'll be back in an hour.
Yes.
Don't die in our absence, and I guess we can head out now.
Unless the tower falls, we'll be safely here.
Let's not talk about that. Let's just go.
Well, they could still climb up the tower and kill you. Never mind. Let's go to the library.
And Gwyneth stands and kind of takes one step, shuffles a little bit, regains his balance, and kind of waves away any attempts to help him. And he breathes in a deep breath. Let's go.
Come on.
Running through the streets. Sigil. Where are you headed?
I'm headed to the magic shop.
Give me an athletics check as you are running with all of your might to get there as fast as possible without injuring yourself.
14?
Okay. You exit the center of Valio, the capital city, and leave the Jade Ward and pass into the Topaz Ward, the mercantile and wealthier residential portion of the capital city. As you run, you pass streets that are filled with people filling up carts and other things, moving their possessions, fleeing for their lives. You see Jade soldiers and other guardsmen scurrying about in different platoons, readying crossbows. You hear orders. You hear children screaming, yelling their parents' names, and still you run. You find your way to the door of Orla's shop. It is shut.
I pound on the door. Hola! Hola, it's me, Sigil. I need you to let me in. Are you there? Hola? I look in the window.
You cup your hands up to your eyes and look through the window and try to see through the thick velvet curtains that cover and keep most of the external light from coming inside. And you wait. Wait. And softly you hear, as a series of rapid footsteps grows closer and closer to the door, and you hear a muffled voice. Sigil? Is that you?
Yes, it's me. Please, let me in. I'm here to help.
The street's clear.
No, people are still running. Maybe with your help, we're able to help them. But first, I need to speak to you. Now, please let me in.
You hear her voice fumble as she fiddles with several locks. You hear latches open and the door is swung open, and she says, "Come inside quickly. Quickly."
I enter the door.
And she immediately shuts it and begins to relatch every...
While she's doing that, I just hug her and pull her off her feet. I'm hugging her so hard.
Yes, I'm all right. I assure you, I've been inside. I heard the booming voice and heard the commotion in the streets, the sound of fighting farther down and closer to the sea.
The sea's trying to kill everyone. Everyone.
What do you know? What do you mean, everyone?
The sea. This priest of a voice. I don't know. All I do know is that they're looking... The orb we have. They want it back. The sea's trying to reclaim this earth, this city, everything, its people.
You have the orb that creature spoke of? You have it?
We have it. It's at the embassy. But I don't know what our plans are.
Are you sure that this is what they speak of?
I believe. I'm not sure. I don't know.
help in any way?
Yes, you can.
I am, as you know, a great purveyor of arcane artifacts. If I could see this orb for myself, I could identify its properties and ascertain its true nature.
My thoughts exactly. But first, I believe that there's a riot outside that we need to help with. Do you have anything on the inside of here that can possibly help people escape? Aid, defend, anything. Orla, I mean anything.
Make a persuasion check.
That's a good old 16.
Okay. She kind of looks around in a moment, and once again you see her eyes kind of scanning over the various walls of the structure that yet again feels in a magical way larger on the inside than the small kind of building with with a window on either side that's kind of tucked in between two larger buildings. And the inside you see before you, as you remember, is sprawled kind of silks and dark velvets, walls that are lined from floor to ceilings with plaques and adornments, many of which have mounted upon them different artifacts, armors, blades, trinkets of all types of magical enchantment. Her eyes scan around the room. I have a small stockpile in the back of healing salves and several healing potions, but I don't have what you would say a stockpile of humanitarian aid.
Well, I do believe trinkets do not qualify as humanitarian aid, but anything will help. Where's the stockpile?
It's in the kitchen. Come, help me with it.
Of course.
She leads you back into the kitchen area, and you see that there are, in kind of a small, tiny little wooden cupboard that kind of sits in a little nook next to several kind of haversacks. There are different salves, different balms, different essential oils. And in the small cupboard, as you open up two small drawers, you see about 10 or so small vials, each that are kind of filled with a red, kind of congealed liquid.
I take 3 and I put them on my person.
Okay, you have gained 3 standard healing potions.
Okay.
As a reminder, those are 2d4 plus 2s.
Okay. And then I take the vials and things.
And she kind of gestures and kind of hands you the straps for several of the haversacks. And with each of you kind of bearing the load, you have about 2 or 3 on either side. And so you're kind of like, I mean, you're not like massively overburdened, but it's weighty.
Sure.
And so you kind of get all this, and she says, where are we supposed to take that? We're just supposed to bring it out into the street?
It's the best option we've got right now.
All right. Lead the way.
I'll do it.
You still have to cook for me. You're not getting a way out of this.
Dessert too, I know.
Let's go.
So whenever we reach out into the street, I'm gonna cast light on the sign or just a sign above us.
You want to cast light on the sign above her?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm going to shout, everyone, listen to me. If you are hurt or injured, please, if you can move, come here. If not, signal to me and I will come bring you here. We have some healing. We don't have a lot.
Make a persuasion check with disadvantage due to the clamor of the crowd and the intense situation where somebody just yelling in the street isn't exactly going to attract a lot of immediate attention.
Sure, that's a 13. 12.
You see some individuals that just are almost walking right past you as you're shouting and trying to get everyone's attention, and they're just so tunnel vision that they almost brush up against you. They're so focused as they keep going. But you see some people, you see several parents running over with their children that have scrapes, or you find one boy is brought over that looks to have like a number of small bites all up along his shoulder, like shark teeth bites, and it's just like sobbing, like he's cried so much that he's not even making a sound anymore. It's just the heaving, and you see this father helplessly just gesturing for you to help, and Orla immediately drops one of the haversacks and pulls out one of the salves and just mutters, I'm sorry this will sting a bit, but it will help, I promise, and begins to apply it, and the father just clutches his son as the boy just shakes again with the
I look
pain.
at the father as steeled as I can. Believe me, it's going to be okay. Be the leader your family needs.
The crowd rushes around you. Give me a perception check with disadvantage.
Would you say perception check?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's an 11.
Juicy. So as the clamor of the crowd around you, ebbs and flows, in one moment it seems like the street has found a moment of peace as you're helping the people that are coming to you for aid, but then in another moment there'll be a onslaught of people moving up from the lower districts close to the docks that are fleeing for their lives. But as you're kind of scanning around, seeing as any other individuals want to come for aid, you spot two figures wearing dark leathers that one kind of begins to walk down the street and is kind of looking around, but then immediately sees you and just kind of like hones in. Dark clothing, grays and blacks, and you see etched upon a cloth that is wrapped around the left bicep and tied taut is this etched symbol in white paint of a featureless human face with a single line cut horizontally across the eyes.
I recognize this, yes?
Yes, you do. This is the same symbol that Nergor and Vire have on their clothing, which you have pieced together is the symbol of the faceless.
I use thaumaturgy to raise my voice once again to reiterate, if you need healing, come to me. Come here. We will help as much as we can.
And as you say this, as these two figures, the one shakes his head, and you look to your left side to another, this time to a shadowy alley, and watches almost materializing from the very shadows itself. You see the swirling motion, almost like the fluttering of bats' wings. You watch as Vire steps out of the shadows, taking a stumbling step, and kind of cracking his jaw back into place. Almost at the same time, Vire and this other figure converge on you, and Vire speaks up. Elikir is looking for you. You should not have left the embassy so suddenly.
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't agree. I'm torn emotionally. There are people out here that need help. And what about the captain? The captain can lead them. Is he not back yet?
From when I departed, no. The child and son of flame rekindled. He is the one we listen to.
Well, he's a good leader, I'll give him that. What does he need from me?
He needs you back. The group must stay together.
Fair enough.
Look around.
Yes.
There are guards. There are others who will defend these common folk. You've helped this boy and his father, these others. But you must come back. Back to the embassy.
Fair enough. I'm on my way. Yes. Oira, there's somebody I want you to meet.
Are we going elsewhere?
Yeah, leave the vials here. Take 3 with you. Hola? Meet Lord Vaya.
I am no lord, that's for certain.
Vaya.
Let's take you back to Valio Embassy.
Okay. She comes with.
Duh.
Carrick Nog,
As you
curse my
wish.
bleeding heart.
And Vire and the other faceless agent turn, each kind of slinging a haversack over their shoulder, some being left in the streets for those that have now gathered and are kind of applying it themselves. And the last thing you see as you lead that side alley, that part of the thoroughfare, and head back up the streets towards Valio Embassy is just when you get out of range, you see your pure white light that's illuminating the street around you dwindle and dwindle and flicker out as you leave its range. What's happening in Valio Embassy, gentlemen? Are you taking a bath?
I'm taking a bath. I'm trying to clean off as much blood and fish guts as I can. Gonna try and wash my armor while I'm at it as well. Just generally get as orderly as I can after our last encounter.
Eridor and I went to my quarters. I began to prep my equipment, glaive and javelins alike, and we had a discussion.
Did you don your previous garb, or is everyone kind of staying in their...
I'm wearing the black garb, as usual, underneath my gray and leather woven wraps, but the glaive is now strapped across my back.
The shard at your side,
Mm-hmm.
and the shield once again taken?
Yep. Alec here and I have exchanged a few words, and then I've sharpened my hopesh and reflected a little bit, but that's not.
We can make that conversation public. I mean, we don't have to have people leave.
Go for it right now.
Go for it. Okay, so I guess you start.
So none of your characters, none of the other characters, aside from Eridor and Alec here, are a part or know of this conversation. Well, Eridor, you see as Alec here removes his robe and begins to go through the weapons that have been placed on the rack. You seem to know my secrets.
A little bit.
Well, I did give my identity to the party.
Yeah. I figured that would be a bit better than fighting a dragon, but
Yeah.
it may have been a bit worth it. But there are a couple things that I left unsaid.
I hope you get to learn a lot more. But these are dire times for the coast, and the survival of its people is the most important.
Very true.
How much do you trust me?
I think that by me finding out what I know about you, and then not spoiling all of it, I think that kind of shows that you've had to have some trust in me a lot more than you may have wanted to, but I hope to show you the same respect and trust.
Well, then I'll tell you just plainly now, with the child out of the way and the captain away from our reach, that the faceless are on our side. And there's a lot of corruption in these houses. There may come a time, if you choose to stand with me, that the people will fight for themselves.
I am on your side. You have not led me astray yet. If there comes a point and you need to signal me something or show me something without I guess the rest knowing, I remove this little necklace with these wooden beads on it. It's kind of been like in my garb. It's got this little generic wood elf figure, and I hint to you. I say, wear this under your garb, and when you need me, just take the wooden figure out. This will be a signal for me. This shows my trust in you. This is all I remember from I guess my past.
Very well. You see as Alec here begins to kind of undo some of the wrappings he has surrounding his neck and the upper portion of his chest, and tucks this necklace in and places it under the wraps to where it may not necessarily be able to be seen. And he turns to Eridor and says, "Thank you. But we wait, friend. The gods reward the patient."
How are Audie and Gwyneth doing at the library?
Well, that depends on how.
We'll find out right now.
How long have we been in the library?
Yeah, so I'll say it was about the same distance that it took. Well, I'll ask this. Were you running there?
Oh yes.
Okay, sweet. So that means it would have taken about the same amount of time as it took Sigil to reach.
Oh yes.
Orla's. So go ahead and give me an athletics check. And Gwyneth will roll 1.
Oh, heck yeah, that -2 athletics.
Yeah.
I rolled an 18, so that's a 16 overall.
I rolled a 13. So that's a 12. Because wizards.
Wizards and sorcerers.
Yeah. Math elites, baby. So, you guys run quickly through the streets. But every now and again, you have to stop yourselves to keep from slipping on the slick cobblestones, the heavy rains, and also the commotion of everyone moving around you. There are certain portions of the city, especially around the library and some of the more prominent buildings near the center of the capital, that there's a lot of commotion and a lot of foot traffic, and so you have to kind of stop and take your time and work your way through. But you eventually do make your way back into the Jade Archive, a structure familiar to you as you had spent time in there earlier today. What are you looking for? You see that there is a clerk kind of at the desk, just kind of like jotting notes down with one hand, but kind of looking around with kind of a panicked expression.
I just rush immediately to the clerk and I say, "Hello, excuse me, do you have a section that's specifically about items, maybe magical or of great significance? What floor would that be on? Is there a specific section that would be under? Or do I need is there a sorting system that I should read about? Do you have it?" It's of the utmost importance.
Yes.
Please. Okay, yes.
The clerk just kind of like grabs his face and just kind of like, right. Yes.
Okay, where?
Power, artifacts of great power
Yes, where?
can be found on
Yes.
the third floor. I'm sorry, there's people being slaughtered in the streets, and I'm
Yes,
flabbergasted.
That's why we're here. We're trying to prevent that. So, third floor. Any specific sections? Maybe is there a sphere section or a ball orb section?
Our library is not categorized by shapes.
It was worth a try.
Not really, but Gwyneth just kind of waves him away. Thank you so much, and just kind of like pushes you and tries to walk you away from the desk.
I'm just trying to like get in. I'm sorry. Bye.
Yeah, so you guys take off towards that second set of stairs, and you work your way up to the floor. This is the same floor that you were on.
So there's the sections with the different types of magics.
There are, and remember how you found that small alcove that was specifically dealing with matters of the soul? There is, on the opposite side, closer to the evocation section of the magics that are categorized according to the different arcane traditions, you find that there is a small section on the elemental planes.
Gwyneth,
Yes.
well, I suggest you go over to that section, see if anything about spheres, balls, orbs, and while you do that, I'm just gonna check something on this side. You go do that, and I start to walk up towards the alcove.
Wait, are you going where I think you're going? Are you trying to be deceiving, or are you being truthful?
I mean, I'm gonna go there.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you're going to the soul section or that other place that's off limits that you don't have access to yet.
Oh, no. I'm going to the soul section.
Okay, so instead, he's going to make an insight to see, because you're kind of being shifty, obviously. So that's a 5.
He sees through my lies.
So he just kind of nods and is overwhelmed by the situation at hand, and so he just kind of, elemental planes, spheres. Okay, and he goes into study wizard mode, arcanologist, and pulls up a chair from one of kind of the reading cubbies, pulls it directly up and just sits it right in front of the bookshelf, and just kind of squats there and runs his finger along the binding of every single one of the books, and is just muttering as he's beginning to figure out which books he should go at first. So now we will come over and see what you're doing as he begins a series of investigation checks. The first one. That's good to know. So what are you doing?
That's for
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'm not.
I walk over to the section where the book is. I grab the book, I open it up, I flip through a few pages, and I just look over my shoulder at the chair and table.
Gwyneth is 100% not paying any attention to you. I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean that he is entirely focused on what he's doing.
So then after that, I look at the chair and table directly behind me to see if there's another person there.
Severus is not in the chair.
I guess Adi just slams the book closed and says, I hope that would work. I slide the book back in and open another book, do the same thing.
Make an arcana I'm just kidding. Severus does not appear.
I just slammed the book closed, I slid it in and said, goodness. And I just walk over to the elemental section and try to start figuring that part out.
Okay, so if you are there helping Gwyneth, I will say that you get to make investigation checks with advantage. Because that's more fun than me rolling here behind this DM screen.
But I mean, I got a +2, so I don't know if he wants to
Well,
roll instead.
No, I'm pretty sure you're gonna roll, because I'm the dungeon master.
Oh, okay. That is 18.
So you, and by the time you get over there, after you kind of took a minute to just see if Severus would appear, you get over there and he's pulled out a 3-volume. These are some pretty thick textbooks. I mean, this is like Bio 101 textbook thick. A trilogy that examines the fundamental nature. No, we won't.
I think we need to leave the section where we're talking about cutting out in post and leave it in. Just keep it.
Well, as I was saying, it talks about the fundamental nature and essence of the elemental planes and how items of great power that were the very nature of the first beings to reside there have great sway over the ecosystems and the ability for those realms to exist as they should. Now that you have the book, I'd like you to make another investigation check.
And that will be a that's a solid 13.
So the hard part is these books aren't broken up into chapters, shall we say. It's more like there's no table of contents, so you're going to have to physically flip through pages to try to find any kind of helpful division of topics. And so you begin to flip page by page as Gineth, you take the second book as Gineth is already flipping through the first book. Make another investigation check.
That's a 9.
Okay, so now as you're flipping through, you're about 400 or 500 pages in of just flipping and flipping. 10 minutes go past, 15, 20 minutes as you're continuing to just flip through, and most of it is a beautiful and detailed and very intellectual examination of...
Is there like artwork around the sides and whatnot?
Oh yeah, it's definitely like some serious Canterbury Tales, big ornate writing on the first letter of every page. But I mean, it's a detailed examination of many facets of fascinating elemental planes, and you learn that there's actually 4 planes in between the 4 primordial planes. So you've got your main 4, earth, air, fire, and water, and then there are the strange lands where one elemental plane, almost in this shifting of reality, exists a space in between 2 other elemental planes. Fascinating. But you don't find anything about spheres, and so you keep flipping through the pages. Give me another investigation check.
That is that is an 18.
After flipping through every single page of the second book, and Gineth has stopped to actually read through a section as about 30 seconds or so ago, he said, I think I might be onto something, and begins reading more thoroughly. You begin to check the third one.
Okay.
Unless you don't want to. Do what you want to do.
Sure, the third one, if nothing was in the second.
Yeah, you went through the entire second one, nothing, so you pick up the third as he's like, no, this isn't. This is talking about fish eyes, not spheres.
Well, it could be a fish-eyed sphere.
He flashes you a picture of the textbook, and it's
disgusting.
Oh God! It's like this horribly gnarled anglerfish.
Oh gosh.
It has like 6 eyes. And like 3 of the protruding like lights that dangle.
I immediately just looked back down at book 3.
If this day hadn't been utterly horrifying, this would have been one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Why would they draw that? Why does that need to be immortalized in paper?
I have no idea. Start looking in the third one.
Oh, yes.
And you continue flipping through it, and about 30 or 40 pages in, you stumble across a rough sketch, a drawing, of a sphere about this big. And for podcast listeners, like one of those small training soccer balls for foot skills, about that size. It is smooth, no rough edges. I mean, it looks uncannily, perfectly spherical. It's a good-looking ball. And underneath it, in an ornate scrawl, says, "The Jewel of the Depths."
Just in case, I reach into my cloak pocket and I pull out the sphere just to make sure. You know, just in case.
Make, I'll say, investigation to compare the two adequately. Make an insight check. The sphere's looking at you funny. No, okay.
That's a 9.
Gotta be honest with you, as you hold the sphere in your hand and
Garm
look
helping?
at the book, Gwyneth's like, for sure. Gwyneth's like, oh, I wonder if those are the same. For sure, have advantage.
No, that was a nat 1, so no, I'm going with the 9.
So, like I said, so as you hold the book in one hand and compare the sphere in your hand to the drawing, the sphere in your hand looks to be glass with a single constant kind of light emanating from its center. The description, and from some of the artistic expression, speaks of an ever-swirling tide, like an eternally crashing wave inside the center of this sphere.
Put the sphere back in my pocket. Just good to know. Okay. And I continue to read.
The tome speaks of the Jewel of the Depths, a stone harvested, or a series of stones, 5 in total, harvested from the heart of the first great kraken. And that these first krakens were so powerful and so connected to pure primordial elemental energy that these stones themselves became almost integral to the continuation of those forces within those realms. It does speak of 5 in existence. 5 jewels. Only one of them mango flavored. Ha 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 ha. We're cutting that out in post. So it does speak of 5, but it does not have any. I just killed a fly. That's what that sound was. Cut that out in post. It speaks of 5 in total, but it does not give any sort of description of where they would actually be.
Is there any references at the foot of the page or something that could lead us down a rabbit trail?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. The Jewel of the Depths are specifically related to the elemental plane of water. Like I said, Kraken. There are other primordial stones of different kinds. Like there are these kind of two great boulders of living magma that were once the two eyes of a primordial fire titan. But stone-wise, this kind of spherical, anything akin to what you're looking for, Jewel of the Depths. Elemental plane of water.
I was just wondering if there's like a book that it references anywhere that's like, oh, for more information, check da-da-da book.
This is the book that would have been referenced by anything else for the Seymour.
I just look over at Gwyneth and say, well, I found it. I don't know how much help this will be, but I know it's from a dead Kraken. Maybe we have to kill another Kraken.
You want to fight a Kraken?
Well, I'm just spitballing here, okay?
You're crazy.
I just turn it around
And you're the
show
one
him.
who convinced a dragon to give us secrets.
Well,
And you're crazy.
Well, it works.
Let's just go back to the embassy.
Okay, okay, yeah, I don't think there's anything else here. Yeah, we can bring this back and we can show everybody. Do we need to get anything else here? Any more information?
No, let's leave.
Is there a section about green dragons? No,
We
never
don't have
mind.
time for that.
Okay, yeah, let's head back.
Okay, so you two begin to proceed down the spiral staircase, and about 10 or so steps from the bottom floor, the doors of the library are pushed open with a force of air as you watch a flash of arcane energy and smoke as fissuring into existence are three figures.
Do I recognize any of them?
You do. Two on either side you do not recognize, but they wear dark robes, each which have kind of a single purple sash in the center. The sigil upon their chest each bears the markings of House Hontori. As proceeding in the center, now garbed with a single ornate and ceremonial breastplate. Her robes, trench coat, on each side of the breastplate are two holsters, each which house what appear to be spell books. Lady Morgana Hontori. Her hair is pulled back and her brow is furrowed as she strides inside and heads right to the clerk as you kind of head down the stairs. And
I immediately put the book somewhere that's not noticed.
make a sleight of hand check.
Is Gwyneth helping?
No, he cannot help you because
That's a 10. Let me just make sure I'm not missing a 1. Yeah, that's not a 17. No.
so you kind of look up and wave, then go and kind of pull up your
Is there just like a perfect outline of a book like underneath my?
yeah. It's like you're trying to sneak snacks into a movie theater and you just have a giant pocket full of candy. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Snickers. You're not you when you're hungry. But you...
Sponsor us, please.
Okay, so, but you kind of push the book deeper into your robes, and you watch as one of Morgana's eyes just kind of trains over to you for a second. And gives you a quizzical look, even as her intense stare still kind of holds steady. I'm gonna do some rolls.
if she starts approaching me, I do have something to say before she makes it towards me.
She falters for a single moment and still proceeds and heads to the center of the clerk's desk. As you guys come down the steps, you on about 10 or 15 feet away or so is the clerk desk, and you hear the individual, Lady Morgana, how can I assist you at this dire time? Her voice cuts like a cold blade, silencing the voice of the clerk. Open the necromancy section and give me access to anything we have, anything stored on the elemental planes. We must defend ourselves against these attackers.
And
I will not wait for anyone else.
I immediately just give Garm the...
Who?
Goodness, sorry, Ginneth. I don't know why I'm thinking Garm.
Another character. Cut this out in post.
Please! Yeah, I just slam the book over to Ginneth and I say, make your way back to the embassy.
You take it out of your coat to hand it to Ginneth?
I turn my back towards her and do this. I'm just, just giving it to him as fast and quietly as possible.
Make a stealth check.
Am I getting advantage in any way?
Sure.
Oh, sweet.
Because Ginneth is very afraid and just kind of is like standing there and does not resist in any way, as you could just kind of try to pull it out and just kind of slip it into one of his holsters. One of his archaeologist holsters is full with his personal grimoire, but then the other is vacant.
So just also for the audience at home, I rolled a 2, and that's why I'm asking for advantage.
Don't worry, I'll destroy them later.
It was a stealth check, so that's a 15 plus 3, so that's an 18.
Okay, so you kind of turn your back and kind of mutter something about like, wow, I haven't been to a library this great since Bright Mall, you say as you, like, shove this tome in his hands, and he just literally, like, drops it in his holster and clasps the front of his robes over it, and he kind of begins to take a couple steps and just kind of looks up, and you see Lady Morgana kind of wait as the clerk just kind of fumbles over his words, and her eyes just coast down Ginneth as he's walking past her. Her eyes lock for a moment on the symbol of House Vaklu on his...
I this is what I try to interject.
I mean, she's looking at him. You can say something, but...
Just walk and try to block him, his view, the view, her to him view. And...
How tall are you again? Just out of curiosity.
Just 5 feet,
Okay, Ginneth is taller than you, just FYI.
Yeah, I'm just
She's
trying.
also not a short lady herself.
And I just say, lady, hi, I'm not sure if you remember me from earlier today, but you said if I ever needed to get into the necromancy section, I could ask for you, and you could help
is
me.
it?
Yes.
I have not the time for your research inquiries. There are lives to be saved, and I will not stand idly by as those who seek to take what is ours assault our walls. Do you hear me, girl?
Yes. I was just hoping to help with the situation. I've spent a year in the Bright Mall Library as a researcher. I thought I could help here with this.
Trust me when I say that your year of research, as important as it may be, I'm sure, is a trifle to my own arcane understanding. Now, if you excuse me, I have a nation to save. Clerk! And you see him jump several inches. Yes! Lady Morgana! Open my vault. If you wouldn't mind. And he kind of hops out of his stool and takes his keys and follow me to the restricted area. Is there anything else you require? Only that you walk faster. And you watch as she ascends the staircase. The two mages that are accompanying her just kind of fall in and turn and block the ascending staircase, and just kind of, one of them just kind of looks at you and nods and says, "She's in a real pissy mood. It'd be best if you just left."
Okay. Give her my best wishes. And I just turn around and start rushing out, trying to catch up with Guinness.
As you run out the door, you hear the other one say, "Noted." So you run out into the rain yet again and are greeted by the sight of Guinness standing with another familiar figure who is leaning up upon a wooden barricade, blood seeping out from amongst the wounds, a beautiful robe or partially covered robe and cape adorning the once pristine armor of House Marlond. You see the captain, Sir Hestel, as he dislodges a gnarled Sahuagin spear, and fresh blood begins pouring from his wounds, even as he holds bandages in the crux of his elbow to stop the bleeding, and he says, "Tell me, did you get those damned papers?"
I immediately run up and hug him, and just probably with my mouth slammed up against his armor, just mutter, yes.
Now, it is about this time that Sigil and Orla and Vire and the other agent of the Faceless burst their way back through Vaklu Embassy. And as you guys make your way back into the front of the embassy, there are guards that try to stop you, more heavily armored embassy guards of House Vaklu, but you and Vire are familiar to them and kind of push your way through. Vire even stating that you're on specific orders from Lord Tobin Vaklu himself. After a few short minutes, you work your way back through the multi-floor of the embassy and find yourself yet again in the residential suite where some of your party members are gathered. So you burst open that door into kind of that common room, and Vire says, "Alakir, I have found and brought Sigil."
And Alec here turns to face Sigil. You see before you that same dark black robe that we've worn on the expedition. The hood of this robe is not up, but it's bunched, it's collected, it's in a fairly good place. And as you turn, you see what looks to be the normal wrappings. What faces you is now a dark, almost steel mask of a featureless human face. Yet instead of a line through the eyes, the claw marks what seemed to be the claw of a gnoll strike across the face.
Preparing for battle, are we?
Very. I'm glad to see you could join us, Sigil.
I had to leave.
Your compassion knows no bounds.
Unfortunately, it leads me to make hasty decisions.
Pardon me. Might I suggest that now that I have brought you here, that you do not run off again?
Fire. Thank you. He reaches out for not a handshake, but one of those like forearm grasps things.
For sure.
And you just hear the whole of clanking arms and armor connecting. Report to the Faceless. You will hear from us soon.
I have no doubt, son of flame. Dorvanik shall return. All of you be well. Points one more finger at Sigil. Don't make me come get you again, I swear. And he and the other faceless
He's a busy man.
agent proceed out of the chamber, shutting the doors behind them. And from there, we're actually going to take a quick break, and we will be picking up in just a bit.